What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Clark Tank. Happy Friday to you all. Boy, it's going to be an interesting show today. So Valve is basically saying that Steam Direct is going to cost $100 and it is going to replace Greenlight. So what does that mean? Greenlight, you used to pay $100, and I think that was lifetime. I actually never put a game on Greenlight, so I'm not totally sure, but I think you paid $100 and you could just submit multiple games, whereas I believe that this fee is going to be $100 each time you submit a game, but it is recoupable and it gets your game immediately on to Steam. Valve is saying that, you know, they originally kind of said $100 to $5,000 or $5,000, which, you know, if they give us that range, I was expecting somewhere in between, because like why would they give us that range and then go to the very low end? And it sounds like that's the case, that they were thinking of the $500 mark. But then over time, seeing community feedback and discussion, they decided to go with the $100. And I personally think it's a really good thing. I think, you know, may the best game developer win, and this keeps as few game developers out as possible. It's not really fair for established devs like me who have resources from our previous successful games, and newcomers who are, you know, in school or working other jobs and trying to make ends meet while coming up with games. Thousands of dollars would be a huge deterrent to them, and you know, we would miss out on some super cool games. So I think that in terms of making sure that we see as many games as possible and as many awesome games as possible and let game developers succeed, I think that the lower the better. So yeah, those are a few separate concerns, that Steam will become harder to search, that there's going to be, you know, a lot of garbage on the store that will make it more like the App Store, and that there will just be more games in total. And I guess we could discuss each of those things to see, you know, whether or not we think that they are true. You know, will there be more games in total than previously? Like with Greenlight, a lot of games were getting greenlit every month, and they weren't being, you know, I don't think that they were being thoroughly checked by Valve, especially because I don't think to be on Greenlight you needed to actually have a releasable game. Like, you didn't have to have a build up there, you just needed to have a store page and things like that. So Valve couldn't even really check whether or not your game was legit. But at least with Steam Direct, you know, I think Lars was saying in the chat, they are going to check every single game, so that's good. And you know, if they were letting on that many games with Greenlight, and Greenlight was $100, then why would there be even more with Steam Direct? I'm not sure that that's the case. Like, perhaps a few more, because it's slightly lower barrier. You don't have to wait for votes and things like that anymore. So maybe there will be a spurt at the beginning, but I predict that it won't massively increase the total number of titles. But we shall see, I suppose, if that pans out. But the other concern is, will it turn into something like the App Store? Steam Direct will be actually more fees, $100 per game. You're right, Lars. Yeah. So Greenlight was $100 for as many games as you want. So per developer, it's just $100. So yeah, Steam Direct will still be more expensive. It's not too much more expensive, but it's more expensive. So I guess it's a bit more of a deterrent, whereas Greenlight had the deterrent of you having to wait for votes and things like that. But will it turn into the App Store, which is, I think, a major fear of developers, that, you know, our games will just get buried, you never get any visibility. But I think that idea that the App Store is broken is wrong. It's just that we are not the core audience there. You know, all the people who play those casual games that we don't like, that we call garbage, that's 95% of, you know, the sales on the App Store. So why wouldn't they be showing those? You know, they're in the top sellers list because they're the top sellers. People buy them. People pay money for them. But on Steam, those kinds of games are not at the top of the charts. Even though free-to-play games and stuff and more casual games do get launched on Steam, they just don't do that well. I think that Steam has an audience of people like us who play core PC games, and it provides those types of games for us. So we feel like Steam is, you know, not full of garbage in the way the App Store is. So I don't think that having more apps coming onto Steam, more games coming into Steam, is going to make it feel like it's full of garbage and that everything at the top is stuff that we don't like. I think it's still people who play games on their computer are different than people, in some ways, than people who play games mostly on their phone. Like, there are a lot of people who play Candy Crush and stuff who would never consider, playing a game on Steam, and they probably don't even know about Steam, right? So the audiences are fundamentally different, and I don't think that having more games on the store is going to suddenly change those audiences and those tendencies. So Bart saying his fear expectation is that this will turn it into a winner-takes-all or two-tier system. Well, yeah, I guess the other concern that you brought up, Bart, is that it's going to be harder to find new games and things like that on Steam. And they explicitly say in this blog post that they know that the challenge now is not deciding what's going to be on Steam, because they're just going to let on almost everything. The challenge is going to be surfacing the right things to the right people. So they actually go on to say that they're going to update curators to give them more powers to like show their own videos right next to the things that they're curating, which will definitely be an incentive for them. If those curators can actually get traffic from Steam, like if they can, right now they're kind of bringing their notoriety to Steam, and if they can actually get a benefit from Steam, then they'll have even more incentive to do that curation. And if they spend more time on that curation and they do a better job of it, then more and more people will actually follow them. Because if you find a curator who's like totally into the same stuff as you, that makes your job easier when you're trying to find cool stuff on Steam, right? I think that the way that it is now is more fair than it was before. And it was great for some of us back then, although Necrodancer got on a little bit later. But, back then, if your game got in the IGF or if it had notoriety for some other reason, then you would get onto Steam and you'd be guaranteed a certain amount of eyeballs, right? And that would, translate into sales. Like, even if your game was not amazing, it would still probably sell a reasonable amount. Whereas now, if your game is not amazing, you're going to get outcompeted by all the other games that are better, a bit better or significantly better. Is it harder to make a living off of games that aren't hits, or is it easier because there are so many gamers now? Well, I guess my view of this is also biased because I started in 2004, back when your options were sell it from your own site or sell it on a casual portal, and Steam had just barely started and they weren't accepting indie games. So this system seems way better than what we had to deal with back then, and I managed to make a living even back then because now we have Steam, which aggregates all the gamers who are interested in the types of games we might make if we're making kind of core PC games. It aggregates them all. It has their credit card information. It has their confidence. Like it's hard to convince someone to come to your website, especially back in 2004, and put in your credit card info on some random person's website to buy a game, and yet people did. And now the barriers to making a sale are so much lower because of Steam, and all the tools that Steam gives you and stuff like that are so much better. It's 100 times better than what it was back then. Like I think I would literally make 100 times more money now than I would have back then with a similar game. Okay, maybe not 100, but a lot more. So it's significantly better. Now people are comparing it to that Utopia back in 2012 or whatever, where if you got onto Steam, you were almost guaranteed success. And sure, maybe for some developers it's worse now than it was back then. But I think that some developers had an unfair advantage back then, and the playing field is level now, which is great. All right, next I wanted to discuss E3 is coming up before the next Clark Tank. I've seen a lot of developers talking on Twitter about release timing, which actually Necrodancer's DLC Amplified is going to be coming out soonish. So this is affecting me as well. So you have people trying to figure out when is the best time to launch your game, and are things like E3 something that you should be concerned about? And also, every summer there's some kind of Steam summer sale. We don't know when it is, but should you be concerned about launching before that or after that? And then in the summer there tend to be some blockbusters, and then let's look at this chart again. And then of course there's the pre-Christmas bump, and then there's there aren't as many games in January and February that are launching, but are there fewer sales? Are there fewer people buying games because they spent everything at Christmas? So A lot of people have been talking about that, so I figured we could discuss it here. If you guys got any thoughts on it, please post them in the chat. But yeah, I do believe that events like E3, certain events, I don't think GDC is as big of a deal, but ones like E3 where there are big announcements, the traditional, written press, they do cover it. They're going to be busy going to E3 or coming back from it or covering it. And similarly, streamers and YouTubers, they also really get into it and they watch the big press releases and press conferences and things like that. So I do think that launching during E3 or right before or right after is probably not a great idea. You're right, Tyler, that GDC is also bad. I think it's less bad like right before and right after. And even during. It's less bad than E3, but still bad. You should not launch during GDC if you can avoid it, because yeah, you will not get as much press. However, I do not think that streamers and YouTubers, which I believe have a larger impact these days than the written press, they do not pay as much attention to GDC as they do. They don't go to GDC and stuff like that as they do to E3. They don't watch all the press conferences and things like that. So yeah, even if your launch is kind of slow, that's not a death sentence anymore. Because Nuclear Throne, I remember at the beginning using the Boxlighter method to try and estimate, how many people were playing it. It wasn't a ton. It did well. It certainly was not a flop by any stretch, but it wasn't a ton. But look what they were able to achieve over time. Like the slope of this is just like steady up, and I think it's largely due to the fact that they're good at promoting themselves, but also, I think most importantly, they updated like every week. But yeah, my point is that there are ways to ensure that your tail is strong. And when we were in early access with Necrodancer, we were updating once, sometimes twice a month, that kind of speed. But we weren't doing it consistently, and we hadn't, told people like every Friday something's going to happen. And I think doing that is great. It doesn't have to be every week, although the more frequently, the better. But that's more stress on you and the dev team, of course. But if people know that they can come back and get new stuff and try this game that they like again, and it'll be a bit different, they are quite likely to come back. And Steam's algorithms like that. Not only do I think the algorithms favor games that have high average playtime, because that's kind of a sign of quality. If people play your game for a long period of time, they're probably happy with it. And Valve, I believe they want to optimize for happy customers. But also, every time you play a game, all your friends see that little pop-up in the corner saying so-and-so is now playing Nuclear Throne. So that's a little advertisement. And also, if you're just playing a game a lot, you're more likely to tweet about it, or stream it, or talk to your friends about it. So getting people to come back, just like Dodge Roll Brent did with Enter the Gungeon, they've done some great updates as well. Obviously, launching during a Steam sale is going to be bad as well. Like, you're not going to get any of your very many eyeballs on, the popular new releases and things like that during a Steam sale, because everybody's frantically buying all the games that are on sale. So, avoid big press events where streamers and YouTubers especially are occupied. Avoid big sale events on whatever platform you're releasing on. Same with like PlayStation. You don't want to be clashing with any big sale that they're doing. And I suppose launching when all people are really busy playing AAA games, like in November, the pre-Christmas rush of all these big AAA games, streamers are often tied up playing those as well. Like when Fallout 4 came out, everybody on Twitch and YouTube was just playing Fallout 4. So yeah, don't compete with mega blockbusters if you can avoid it. But I think a lot of it is also, so there are obvious things like that. Try to avoid big things. That's pretty, I think everybody, it's pretty common sense. So here's the Steam Top 50. If you're not familiar, this is a weird version of it that we look at. It checks what games were in the Steam Top 50 on average over the last 24 hours. Let's see what's selling well on Steam these days. So CSGO is always near the top, and now it's at the top. So Witcher is up there because it's on sale. Dota has been doing well the last couple weeks. A bunch of Witcher stuff on sale. Battlegrounds is just a freaking juggernaut. Now Tekken 7, you'll see on the Steam store page, it's got a giant banner. I guess Tekken 7 is a big deal. Friday the 13th, the game. I'm not going to watch the trailer for this on the show because I watched it recently, and man, it's nasty. It's just like graphic like people getting graphically murdered. Yeah, as I always say, people like kind of dark and grim things on Steam, like Dead by Daylight and whatnot. So not too surprising to see it up here, although it doesn't have great reviews. But you know, a big IP and the kind of dark gameplay that sells well on Steam. H1Z1 King of the Kill, it's moving down here. It used to be hanging up there near the top with CSGO and Battlegrounds, but it's slowly getting pushed back. Black Desert Online, what are you? $10. There's where the elephant skull came from. Black Desert Online. So is it like a free-to-play thing, but you have to pay $10 to get into it? Quantum Break, it is on here because it was on sale. Its sale must have just ended or something. Warframe is perennially up here. It's been doing well lately. Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, we watched the trailer for that last time. Rocket League is perennial. Company of Heroes, oh, is there going to be a whole bunch of Company of Heroes and Witcher spam today? Look at all that. GTA, perennial. More Company of Heroes stuff. Now, Northgard, I found this really interesting. Northgard sold, like, better than we were expecting. It's like a sim strategy, well, like, more strategy-ish kind of game. We played it on the Clark Tank a while back. And, it sold quite well, and now it's pretty high up in the charts for only being 15% off. It came out, you know, a number of months ago, and to be only 15% off is a bit of a small discount. But yeah, that game continues to sell really well. Now, Star Trek Bridge Crew, I have not watched the trailer for this yet, but I've seen a lot of my nerd friends talking about it.
So who's gonna be captain?
I'll be.
Oh, is it VR? I know nothing about this. I've just heard nerds talking about it, though. I was a Trekkie. Northgard just added multiplayer? Ah, that's huge. Thank you, Garrett.
Captain, do you want me to up power to the engines?
That's the type of thing that VR is for.
Course to Gamma
To be able to turn around and see your friends getting shaken around when you get hit by photon torpedoes. Verdun, you must have just been on sale or had an update or something like that. Shadowverse, so this is the Hearthstone of Steam. It's been doing well. This is that Vietnam game. Okay, so this is DLC for it. TF2 back in the charts. Ark is on sale. I'm surprised it's not a bit higher then. Darksiders stuff on sale. War Thunder is perennial. Abzu back in the charts because it's on sale. We played that in the Clark Tank a while ago. Planet Explorer is on sale. Rainbow Six Siege is perennial. Paladins, yeah, it's climbing. So Oxygen Not Included, we talked about last Clark Tank. Such a good game. I expect it to sell very well for Clay over the years. Titan Quest on sale, Witcher stuff. Dead Cells we played, which was a lot of fun. Man, it is selling well. It's going to make many, many millions of bucks. Now, The Long Journey Home, what are you? I still don't really understand what the gameplay is here. Explore an endlessly shifting universe, forge alliances with powerful alien races, harness your crew skills. So is it a strategy game? Simulation strategy. Man. So yeah, this is like the actual gameplay. Boy, it's kind of misleading. Okay, so here's Prey, which was at the top of the charts when it launched. It's fallen off a lot faster than I expected. Now, Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator, which we've talked about a number of times. It's one of those, like, physics hilarity games, which seems to be, you know, a new genre that does well. YouTubers and streamers really like them. Elder Scrolls Online, this is the DLC. Yeah, we saw this the last few weeks. Rust, back in the charts. Arc DLC's on sale. So Endless Space, Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy 14 is an MMO. Okay, so it just is forever. Okay, so this is the same Final Fantasy. So it's selling well because they just launched this DLC, I suppose. There's Gary's Mod. Gary's Mod. So Abduction was that kickstarted adventure game. Now, it must have been on sale or something recently. Okay, so it had a sale that just recently ended. So how well is it done? It's like 75,000 at 20-ish bucks. So 1.5 million. It's not bad. It's better than I was expecting, actually, because I think I was calling for the demise of adventure games on Steam, but they're doing better than I thought. They're definitely not the big blockbusters that they used to be in the days of yore, but it's still viable. But it would take a fairly large and talented team to make a game like this, so I expect it'll make a profit, but not a super huge one. Nier Automata, man, it has been hanging around in the charts for a long time. Football Manager's up here because it's on sale. City Skylines, this is the DLC for it. Tokyo 42, which we're going to be playing, and then Everspace, which we just talked about. So let's watch the trailer for Tokyo 42, which is super stylish and awesome. The music is interesting. So cool. Weird faces with stairs coming out of them. So good. Yeah, I'm excited to try this. So I'm curious to see how it feels. Have any of you guys played this? Do you know, should I be using a controller or the keyboard? We acquired some new stuff. Whoa! We better use the new stuff. Let's use this AK. Oh, I got shot from the other guy. Well, I wasted one dude. Respawn. Do over. Whoa. Gotcha. So after we shoot, we got to rotate the view and then start. Oh man. Oh, point blank. Ah, fell over the edge. Man, that's kind of frustrating. Like, you'd think that you'd stay in that channel unless you jumped. And stay on the stairs, stay on the stairs, stay on the stairs. It's hard to stay on the stairs. There we go. And now what was the button to change your appearance? These guys are running at us with katanas. So we're supposed to be sneaky, huh? Nice. The coffee is the saving, I guess. Chop, chop, chop. Alright, so I think we get the general idea. This game is kind of a mission-based mafia game with interesting aesthetics. You know, I think they did a great job of standing out and of marketing themselves well. I think it was Adam Saltzman talking on Twitter. He was talking about, you know, when is a good time to release and stuff like that, and when is a good time to announce. And he was saying that you should always be announcing, which is a cool piece of advice, which I agree with. Like, you should be showing people stuff about your game constantly so that they're always thinking about it. And I heard about Tokyo 42 quite a lot over the last year or so. The visuals alone, like, got people talking, and they're curious about what kind of game would work with these visuals, right? So yeah, they did really well on that front. I think the gameplay is fine. It's not super innovative. Like, it was reasonably fun, but it's not, it doesn't stand out on its own, you know, just because of the gameplay. If it weren't for the visuals, I think this game would not do nearly as well. The gameplay is good, but not the core focus, at least for me. But I think that shows that, you know, the importance of having something aesthetically unique, aesthetically appealing. Like, these days, you know, having photorealistic stuff no longer makes games stand out. What makes them stand out is unique styles of visuals and audio and unique gameplay, of course, that no one's seen before. And this game has a totally unique visual style, and it pays off. So much appreciated, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time. That will be after E3, so I'm sure there'll be interesting new stuff to discuss then too. But I think that wraps it up for this Clark Tank. Thanks for watching, everybody. This Clark Tank is over.